What's up, you guys? James Strickland here. Welcome to week 19 on my road to 2,100 pounds and my continuation on my road to 700 pounds on bench press. So starting out this week, you've got barbell bench back in the saddle here. And so this is just a pretty light set for me. This is 545. Just testing the shoulder, make sure that we're holding up pretty well before I go heavier in the following weeks. Good pause, speed rep, happy with that. I can't say that I wasn't a little nervous because it's been a little while, but I feel very confident with the speed of that. Here's a side view going forward in the next few weeks, being able to ramp this up well over 6 so that we can go ahead and nail the goal in the meet is 666, which is or better, which is the all-time world record in a full meet. So moving on here, I've got some follow-up sets just to get some more volume in. These are the 200-pound dumbbells. And sorry for the view here. I've actually got a little bit better view from the side in a second. But the goal here was to get as many reps as I could without going overboard, and feeling very, very comfortable with these 200s now. It's only taken me about 3 weeks to kind of to get more comfortable. I knock out 13 reps here. So that's a PR for me. And there's been years that I've been watching some of the greats, and especially Ronnie Coleman, a great bodybuilder, probably best of all time, but other than Arnold, obviously. But he hit 12 of them in a deficit. Of course, there was his meat prep and stuff like that for his competition. But I've never seen anybody do more with the 200s. I know there's rumors going around, with 210s and 225s and things like that, but I don't have access to those, so I can't try those records right now. But in the middle of my training, why not have a little fun with this? Obviously, getting some volume in is key. I want to make sure that I'm keeping my strength up and keeping my shoulder healthy, which is the most important thing here. It's a little awkward laying back with those, as you can tell, but this is the same set, just a side view. You can see that there's a full reps. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm shortchanging anything. Touching my chest, going as far up as I can without those dumbbells clanging together. But like I said, this feels pretty easy. I think if we had to go a couple more weeks with dumbbells, I could probably hit 15 or more. I don't believe it's on the training going forward from this point, but if it is, then look for some better numbers. If not, look for some heavier numbers on barbell. That's obviously the goal for the meet. I'm not doing a meet or competition with how many reps you can do on 200-pound dumbbells. So that's just to get me back in the saddle with that shoulder. Shoulder feels 100%, but don't want to test the waters too early and aggravate something and make it worse. So we'll see next week what the barbell holds. This is a follow-up set just to get a little more control at the bottom. This is calling for the same 200 pounds for six paused reps. So really controlling, that's pretty tough on these, obviously because of the weight, but just the sheer fact that 200 pounds in each hand, if it goes a little bit out of the groove, it's over. There's no correcting it. So as you can see, I'm shifting a lot, and that's just basically to counteract those dumbbells moving around. I normally don't move that much, obviously, on barbell, but pretty unique setup here. Obviously, I've worked with the 150s and things like that. Those do not move me around like the 200s do. So all right, moving on. Set calls for weighted dips. I don't have the weighted dips at this particular gym, so I just load up that as much as I can, and I think I've got about 505 pounds worth of weight, and I got 2 sets of 5. I lightened it up a little bit from last week, as y'all saw. You saw me have about 545 on there. I really just felt like it was just too much weight. I mean, I could nail them, but there's too much in almost like an RPE and a max. I don't want to be maxing out. I've added these back in, Josh Bryan and I, with my shoulder issues and my rhomboids and deltoids being some issues there with the shoulder. These really seem to counteract. They're not real heavy. This is the incline face down rear delt flies. 20 pounds is all I need. 3 sets of 15. But I really feel the burn in these right in that rear delt, and these are perfect for getting that good blood flow, getting some hypertrophy in there, and really just keeping that whole shoulder joint healthy. Obviously, I have my shoulder day where I do my rear delt cable flies, just a different kind of setup from this, but these, along with those on the shoulder day, help very, very much to Doesn't take a lot of weight. I could probably do 50 pounds or 60 pounds, but I don't want to max out. So stressing that again, training is all about the 3 big lifts, and these accessories are meant to be just that. These are not the main lifts. So there's no reason to put 100% max effort, but maximum effort into the training is different.
You all think that I get a lot out of my sleeves? Really? You think that gives me a lot?
So I get called out a lot for using sleeves, so I figured I'd just let you guys know. And that's not to be egotistical, that's just to let you guys know that when I do train with sleeves, they are for a purpose. They're not to help me lift the weight. There's nothing wrong with that, in my training, they don't. So moving on, I've got some chest supported dumbbell rows. This is 85 pounds, getting a good squeeze at the top, 4 sets of 8. This is obviously a great rowing movement. I can change the angle of the dumbbells if I need to either hit slightly different in that back or take some irritation off shoulders or elbows. If you're having issues like that, these are a great way. Obviously, I prefer seal rows with a barbell, but as you can tell in this particular setup, I would not be able to put a barbell underneath this bench. But I also get the added benefit of having the angle change around and switch it up a little bit. So really working on getting these controlled. Pretty hot day in the gym. It's on average about 100 degrees every day here in Houston. Hot and humid. These fans pretty much just blow hot air on you, so I am drinking. You see that stainless steel container right there in front of me? That's about 64 ounces of water. I go through about 3 of those every single workout, regardless of the temperature of the gym. So moving on, these are one of my new favorites. They're not my favorite all the way because it's still weighted dips and tricep row, but these are a great alternative, a different way to hit that tricep. These are the monastery extensions, and this is the whole stack. I've got about 200 pounds on there right now. The exercise calls for a set of 12, set of 10, and a maximum rep set. And so this first one was 12. I went ahead and added a 10-pound plate just to get a little extra weight on this stack. Just wasn't heavy enough. Nailed out 10 reps on this particular set. And as a personal goal, 17 is what I hit last week with 200 pounds. So got my mind right, walked around a little bit, and got kind of amped up to nail 20 on this one. So let's see what happens. It's quite difficult to keep. My core is very much engaged right here. I've got my feet planted up against the rack, and I'm trying my best to keep my elbows and my body still because I really want to focus only on the triceps. But with this kind of weight, it's literally wanting to pull my body backwards, and it's very hard actually to do this kind of thing on. So I hit 20, so very excited about that. That was a goal of mine. I think I had a couple left in the tank, but doing tricep ropes with this kind of weight, it pretty much wants to pull me off the floor with the pulley system and things like that. So either I have somebody hold me down, or I figure out a way to either hit them differently or hit more reps. When you start kind of hitting those weights, you have to work around some issues. So next I've got, and actually last, I've got rope hammer curls. Working on just getting some bicep work in here. Nothing crazy. This is 140 pounds, maybe half the stack or so, and it's 3 sets of 12. And that pretty much, after a couple of these sets, is going to wrap it up for bench press day. I'll go ahead and lead into the next day. We are going to be alternating heavy deadlifts, heavy squats weekly into the meet so that I'm not taxing my legs twice a week. Worked very well for the last meet. As far as managing fatigue and having my training days go quite well. So we are going to start off with deadlifts. And so instead of doing them on Friday, I moved my heavy set to my day 2. So next week will be my heavy squats. I'll move those to day 2, and my lighter deadlifts will be on the normal day 4. But in this particular case, this is just a warm-up set of 365 for 5 paused reps. But this is a deadlift day. The day calls for a PR for me actually with 730 pounds. That's a 5-pound PR if I get it from the last training cycle. And last meet I was probably good for about 750 at the meet. Obviously things happen at the meet that some controlled, some not controlled circumstances. 700 went up very, very easy at the meet. 733 got a little out of the groove, and as a safety precaution, I did not complete that lift. Pretty much was just kind of an injury prevention thing. But strength-wise, I think that 730 was going to fly right on up. But to each their own, opinions, whatever. Either way, I didn't get it. 700 is my max right now in competition, and I have hit that several times in training. So let's move on. This is first set. I believe this is 585. And as y'all saw last week, I shut it down early. I was doing my day 3 pretty much 2 days after my heavy bench day or a heavy squat day. So that was about the same speed as that 585 from last week. It's a side view of the same lift. Happy with that. Moving on here, we've got 675. This is what I did not get off the ground last week, and moved quite nicely. So that mental block out of my head there. Moving on here, 730. Very much happy with that PR. I think I had a lot left in the tank. Working on a little bit of form. This is side view on the other side. Got a little bit of a straight leg there, working on keeping my hips down and really driving with my legs. But I think overall that is definitely an improvement from my form in the past. Obviously a work in progress always. I don't think my form will ever be perfect, but we'll just keep working on it. And moving on, I've got some speed deadlifts with 545 pounds. This is 3 sets of 2, so I've got some doubles here. Feel very confident with my deadlifts now. This actually used to be my least favorite lift. It's hard to say what my least favorite lift is now because I enjoy squatting, I enjoy benching obviously, and I enjoy deadlifting. I think the one that I'm most uncomfortable with would probably be deadlifts. It's just not natural for me. It just doesn't feel natural. Obviously I think my form on deadlift needs more improvement than my squat form or my bench form. So I think if I had to pick one that's the least favorite, I'd probably have to go with deadlift. But honestly, I'm really enjoying all of them. So this was supposed to be a set of head-supported rows. There's a lot of people in the gym today, so I went ahead and just did bent-over rows. It's a little bit easier, but I went a little bit heavier on these just to make up for it. This is 290 pounds, 3 sets of 5. Couldn't grab the bench. A couple guys just kind of sitting over there, so I didn't want to bother them. Get my workout in. All right, so got some suitcase deadlifts. This is 185, 2 sets of 2. It's just working on some obliques, a little bit of grip as well. I'm just working on speed, controlling it. It's a little awkward just because it's a long barbell and you're lifting it from one point. It kind of pivots in your hand, but it actually helps quite a bit with stability. Works on that core a little bit. But moving on, I've got some Meadows rows. This is 210 pounds, 3 sets of 5 reps. These are actually getting a lot easier. This is quite a bit of weight, so it's just, it's kind of like with the dumbbells, just making sure that I keep braced. I almost want to put a belt on when I do these just because I really don't want to pivot and torque. But get a little bit of core work here and try to keep the legs out of it. But 210 pounds is no joke. I don't even count the bar, so I'm sure it's a little bit more than that. But this gasses me out quite a bit. It takes a lot of energy, but definitely is helping with those lats and that back. Just one more back exercise that you guys are watching that contributes to a whole stronger body. It helps with my bench, it helps with my deadlift, helps with my squat. And just overall, obviously doing accessories for those lifts. Strong back is a necessity with any type of lifting. You don't want to have a weak back. But so, just kind of reflecting on that deadlift, this is obviously a couple days after it. I'm quite happy with that. The goal for the meet has always been 755. I am not going to assume that is going to be my max, because I believe that I could probably get more than that. I'm actually kind of struggling, and I wouldn't say necessarily struggling, but it's harder for me to believe that I could possibly deadlift closer to 800 pounds, just because 700 was such a lofty goal for a long time. But I'm just going to let the training take its run, and we'll see what happens at the meet. I believe 755 will be there for probably a second attempt, and I'd love to see 771 or more, but I'm not going to get overzealous and assume anything. If the training points there, then obviously in the last few weeks we'll know exactly where we're at. All right, so moving on. Last thing of the day here, actually a couple things left. I've got some neutral grip lat pull downs using the whole stack here, 250 pounds, 3 sets of 12. These are, well, I say they're difficult, but they're actually pretty easy. This is just a lot of freaking weight. So I have to stay very, very tight on these, as with any exercise, but these I just really need to make sure that I'm not shifting any. A lot of lactic acid builds up, and as you can see, I have to walk around the gym for a second after that just to release some pent up stress, lactic acid, anger, whatever, just from hitting those. But that's a lot of freaking weight, and I feel every single rep, but I'm not in pain. Obviously I feel good, and it's obviously getting me stronger, and it's pretty cool to hit the whole stack. I know for the longest time hitting 100 pounds, 5-10 years ago, it was like crazy weight, and just to be able to say that I can do a full stack like that on some of these things is pretty cool. So moving on, last thing of the day is these are my famous static holds that Josh has me do. This is just a plate between the ring finger and the thumb and the ring finger and the thumb and the pinky, and these are just 15 seconds, 20 seconds holds each, and about 2 sets of 2 for each hand. This is just working on making sure that the pinky and the ring finger don't slip in my grip on deadlift. Don't have any issues, didn't have any issues with the 720, the 730 the other day, and I'm not worried about my grip at all. Obviously this is keeping that from being a worry. I don't want to show up to the meet and have my third attempt slip out of my hands at the top. So this is just working on a specific point of weakness that could possibly be. So moving on, day 3. This is my normal day 3 regimen. This is shoulders. And so got the full stack here. Can't get much heavier on this overhead press machine with the machine. I could go to barbell and dumbbells, but honestly, this doesn't carry over to my bench. This keeps my shoulders healthy. So obviously I'm capable of doing 400 plus pounds strict on a barbell overhead press. So it's not a matter of maxing out on these or trying to see how strong I can get with overhead presses, but I show 1 set there, but I do 2 sets of 15 on that. This is the other rear delt exercise I was talking about on Monday, day 1. This is my standing 1-arm rear delt flies with the cable. It's 50 pounds here, and this is 3 sets of 15. This one hits me quite a bit, and I think it's just because the week has gone by, about a few days into training, and I'm a little tight, a little sore, a little, just fatigued from the other days. So you'll see that these don't seem to be as strong, but obviously I've lightened the weight up. We're not doing any kind of crazy weight, but these definitely hit a good burn in those rear delts. Keeping the elbow straight, really working on feeling that rear delt get a burn, and I actually have to rest quite a bit in between those sets just to get them all in without hurting myself. So we've got some extra volume on bench here. This is 3 sets of 20 with 100 pounds. Very light. Short of saying that I'm toying with these, I use these to really get a solid pump in the chest. This is a supplemental accessory for my main bench day. This is just a way to keep the pecs kind of thinking and kind of surprise them middle of the week, make sure they're not getting dormant. That way when Monday rolls around, we're ready to hit heavy again. And so last thing of the day is my T3 raises, and this is 3 sets of 10 with the 10 pounds. I had to kind of do a little makeshift incline bench here. Obviously you can see the one next to me was taken, and didn't want to bother the guy. He seemed like he was working pretty hard. All right, well, welcome to day 4. So this is my squat day. It's my light squat day this week. And today calls for a top set of 555 for 2. So I was actually going to do this beltless, but then Josh and I, we've been talking really about lift the way you're going to lift in competition. Obviously, this is not a warm-up. It would be on a heavy squat day, but because this is my top set, I'm going to lift with the same gear that I would have in competition. So I've got my straps on just to keep my wrist healthy, because I've really got to torque those wrists out on this low bar, and it really puts me in an uncomfortable position. Keeps my wrist from having any kind of aches and pains. So I got the low bar set up, and I'm actually going to do some pause squats just to show total control over this weight. And this is a mental barrier as well, because for a long time this was actually my max. And so now that we're 700 pounds in training, plus on this, on my light squat day, I wanted to dominate that 555. And so I did. So next week I'm looking for some pretty close to or right at 700 pound squats from a heavy day. We'll see what we get worked out. This is a rear shot of that same set with the 555 for 2. Notice how I don't walk out extremely fast. I treat it like it's 700 pounds. I do that with just about every weight. It's not only teaching my mind-muscle connection, but it's just creating good habits. And you want to do that with no matter what the weight is, no matter what the warm-up is. Every single rep is a way to train your body to get better at the lift and the movement, not just your max set. So really, that's, to stress, this may be a light day, but I'm really working on technique. I'm really working on focus. Even though this particular set is my my speed squats with 465, 3 sets of 3. I'm really, as you see, I'm getting into position, making sure that I really get tight, and I'm respecting the bar at all times. 135 can hurt you, so really working on getting some speed in here. Focus on firing off, and like a broomstick, throwing that bar off my back is kind of the intent. But I feel really, really good about squats. Like I said earlier, these are starting to be a strong point for me. I'm really looking forward to putting up a good number at this next meet. My confidence is at an all-time high, as it should be, because training has been going very well. There's no ego in this at all. I'm totally basing my projections off of where I'm at right now, not where I'm going to be next week. So keeping that in mind, I'm excited going forward. It's fun. I've never really seen powerlifting in a full meet fashion as fun. I've always looked at it as just hard work, which it is, but I'm actually really enjoying these PRs that I'm putting up, and training in the capacity that I'm training right now. Now ask me right after a workout how I feel, and I might tell you a different story. But after I'm rested and recovered, I feel pretty darn good. So this is my last set of squats for the day. This is paused squats with 410 pounds, 2 sets of 3. Really making sure to get an exaggerated pause, keeping those hips open, working on really opening them up, and just feeling sitting into the squat. Because obviously as we get heavier, being at that position in the squat, I'm training my body where I want to be at the bottom of my squat, so that I'm not going too far down, not going too far up. Definitely want to break parallel for competition. So that's, once again, training the habits. So moving on, I'm working on some grip strength here. End of the week grip with 465 pounds. This is a squat bar, so mind you, it's a lot harder than a deadlift bar. It's definitely wider, bigger diameter, so it's harder to hold on to. But if I can hold on to this for 15 seconds, I can hold on to a deadlift with 800 pounds for probably 15 seconds or more. And this is a follow-up set with 385 pounds, just to lighten up the load a little bit, because obviously the grip starts slipping, but just want to get a little bit more grip work in. And that is it for grip. So moving on, I've got my hip glute, or my one leg glute bridges. Got my leg elevated a little bit this week to try to get a little more range of motion. These actually really work those hamstrings quite well. Obviously squats, they're already kind of worked. This is just one more thing to hit the hammies, which have definitely helped improve my deadlift form. Obviously they are used for other things and squats, but specifically in my deadlift, my posterior chain is something that I have been constantly working on. If I had to pick a weak link, it would be the posterior chain, and so obviously want to work on these. So this is 3 sets of 12 with this 45 pounds weight. And moving on, last thing of the day is my modified GHR. This is 3 sets of 6. I went ahead and just 12 on this first set because it's fairly easy. I got 30 pounds worth of weight in my hands here. Really working on focusing on firing that hamstring and really working it. Obviously, if I was to do regular GHRs, I could work them a little bit better, but sometimes you got to work with what you have equipment-wise. So this is pretty much the last thing of the week. Feeling extremely confident and strong. Next week I've got some things going on. My schedule is going to be a little bit off, similar to the week before. So we're going to see about kind of making some modifications to the schedule. Obviously we're going to go heavy bench, barbell, heavy squat, and lighter deadlifts next week. So looking forward to that. Not sure exactly what the numbers will be yet. We'll probably looking in the range of close to 600 on barbell bench. Definitely closer to 700 on squat since it was 660 last week, and probably somewhere in the range of like 600 for some reps, maybe a triple on deadlift just to keep those in the mix. But I think I looked the other day and there's about 5,500, and I believe it was 5,555 subscribers. So I want to take the time out to thank each and every one of y'all for tuning in and following my journey. I appreciate every one of y'all. Please like and subscribe. Please follow me on Instagram at SwimHack. And if you guys ever have any questions on anything, please hit me up on benchonly.com. I do provide training, and I would love to help you out. Thanks a lot.